and welcome back to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9. I'm Paul Kretschmer. In light of recent events in the Middle East, the war especially between the State of Israel and the Hamas terror organization in the Gaza Strip, I've invited David Rubin, a former resident of the United States and for a number of years now a citizen and resident in Israel, for his observations on what's going on over there at the current time.
I'm speaking with David Rubin in Israel. He has personally seen what happens when there's violence in the Middle East. He and his son were attacked in the past, and he is the former mayor of Shiloh, Israel, and has set up a foundation after that attack. Under the consideration of the attacks of the moment by the Israeli military against a leader in Syria, where do you think the prospects for some sort of peace may lie at the current time, sir? Is it too early to really say?
Well, look, we believe in peace through strength, as Ronald Reagan always emphasized. Peace through strength means that when you're fighting a war which was started by a terrorist enemy that massacred your people, that beheaded and raped the women, that tortured the babies and the elderly, then you have to win. You have to win through strength. You have to have a real victory, and we don't have that yet. And right now, there's a lot of pressure from the United States government, from the Biden administration. Let's call it what it is. And they're putting heavy pressure on Israel not to continue to fight this war to the end, to the finish. And if you want to win wars, Israelis know that war is a terrible thing. We've suffered from it. A very substantial amount of our young people have lost their lives in wars. But we know that if you want to win, then you have to really win. And the United States, sadly, has not won a war since World War II, and I don't think that the United States is the one who's going to be giving us good advice.
So it sounds to me like you were not surprised when things seemed to take a turn recently, especially at the United Nations, when the United States apparently chose to sit on its hands rather than cast a vote that would actually matter to Israelis then.
Well, I said it all along. After the massacre on October 7th, when everyone was talking about how President Biden is really standing with Israel and is giving us that political support and selling the necessary weapons that we need according to our agreements. So everyone was saying, it's going great. I said, just wait about a month, and you will see things start to turn once the pressure starts. And it's all from politics. It's all from the politics in the Democratic Party and Biden's election against Donald Trump. That's really what it's all about. He's very concerned. Biden is concerned about the swing states of Michigan, Minnesota, where there are a lot of Muslims. That is where the concern is, and that has colored the policy, unfortunately, recently.
Does it make any difference that Hamas is a terrorist organization fighting against a sovereign state like the State of Israel?
Well, to us it does. The difference between a sovereign state and a terrorist organization is that a terrorist organization hides behind civilians intentionally. We've heard the word genocide tossed around a lot, quite cavalierly, by a lot of the Muslim protesters. The reality is that genocide is when you aim to kill civilians and you do it on a massive scale. Israel has never aimed towards any civilians. if you look at the Israeli army in this war, it has dropped millions of leaflets, and I mean millions. We're talking about millions of leaflets, and there aren't millions of people in Gaza. So obviously there's an intention to make sure that that everyone gets a leaflet, and the leaflets have instructed them how to leave the city that's about to be attacked, where to go to a safe zone, and that has been done in every city that Israel has attacked, every city and every town. So clearly Israel is not the one who's committing anything close to genocide. Israel is fighting a war against an evil, savage enemy and is determined to win that war, but is doing it in the most humane way possible.
Under the circumstances, is it pointless for an organization like the United Nations to talk about this sort of thing? It seems, at least on the surface, that body seems to want to follow a process which, as you pointed out a moment ago, does not really apply, because we're not talking about, let's say, the United States versus Russia or the Russians versus Ukraine. We're in some ways we're really talking about two parties, one of which is dramatically different than any conventional war anyone's ever fought.
Yeah, look, I'll give you an example. The Shifa Hospital in northern Gaza. It's a very large hospital that has not really been used for medical care in recent years. There are some patients there on the surface. But then when you dig a little bit and you search through the whole hospital, as the Israeli army did recently, and you search underground underneath the hospital, you find weapons factories, you find hundreds of terrorists that Israel recently captured or killed. And this is how they play. This is the game that they play. They hide behind the civilians intentionally. They intentionally set up their military headquarters in hospitals, in schools, in mosques. And this has been done throughout Gaza. It's an incredible thing. It's an incredible distortion of what the free world believes in. So you mentioned the UN. The UN is the farthest thing from a source of moral clarity that the world has ever seen. It was started about 80 years ago as a source of moral clarity, but it lost that designation many years ago, and now it's basically a source to fight against Israel. It's a body that is heavily funded by many countries. First and foremost is the United States, but it's lost its moral right to exist, and it lost it a long time ago. And you mentioned earlier in the show that I'm the founder and director of the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund, and we help the terror victims in Israel and the massacre victims in Israel. So if people want to stand with us or want to find out more about what the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund does, they can go to, we've recently shortened the website, israelchildren.org.
Thank you, David Rubin, for your willingness to speak with us on this occasion from the State of Israel. Thank you for your remarks, sir.
You're very welcome.
Once again, my guest on today's broadcast has been David Rubin, a former resident here in the United States, but for a number of years now a resident and citizen of the State of Israel. We asked for his reflections on the current Mideast war between Hamas and the State of Israel. For further information, call us at 860-346-1049. Opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Paul Kretschmer for the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 WIHS.